I think the difference is trust. Like, I feel like when you're directing live action, yes, you have to trust more people, but there's also a sense of like, I want the camera faced this way, and yeah, this is what I want. When it's animation, you know how you want it to flow. You now have to trust that the animator is going to get it.
Auntie, we were just dancing.
The acting choices, the choice to add dialogue, where it was going to be set. This is a bold step for Nigerian animation, and I want to be a part of it.
I don't think that we've seen enough animations that try to tell a picture of, like, my experience of Lagos, for example, or my friend's experience of Lagos. And so it was really cool to work on something that I guess I could relate to more personally in that way.
First memory I had was like saying I wanted to work on the character profiles, like, and how that was going to kind of inform like a lot of the decisions moving forward. And so that was like the first thing I remember properly working on, and that's when it started feeling like real for me, having to sit down and kind of do that. And I learned about it first from my favorite actor alive, Viola Davis. So she was talking about a movie that she did, Doubt. She's only in the movie for 8 minutes, and she said she wrote like multiple pages about her character, like what the character does when they're home, like all the trauma they've gone through and things. Like, he said that really informed the decision she made. So that's kind of what informed, okay, how I'm going to work on the character profiles, give these characters depth, like what are they, when they do something, are they doing it because they're vindictive or because they care? So yeah, stuff like that. So it was really fun working on that.
Really interesting getting the call to take on this project. Falomore for me is like somewhere, like I lived sort of like off Falomore for some time, so it was somewhere I was familiar with, so I was also like excited about that.
It felt representative of Lagos without like doing what I think a lot of, like, it's either, I feel like with Nollywood, it's either high brow, like it looks like heaven, and it looks like shit. So I think I like the balance, and I think Falomore really allowed for that.
You had shared something with me before, like maybe like a draft or something. So I already knew that like it was from like the perspective of being in a car, right? I couldn't do much in terms of like photographing from a car. So I just tried to like stay as close as possible, like on the road, like to just like capture architecture around like the roads, like the pedestrian.
Falomore just looks more interesting, like the roundabouts, the moving and going under the bridge. Just like in my head, like I thought we were going to even play around with it a bit more. Like I like how it turned out, but in my head I was really seeing like a lot of like shadows being cast on the car, like the movement, and there's also traffic there, so it kind of like allowed for the conversation to finish before we drove into the long stretch of the road.
Sorry, Auntie, I didn't hear what she said.
A lot of people don't really understand what animation is or how it is made. The first thing that happens is the story idea. Once the story is gotten in the form of either a script or a storyboard or an animatic, the next stage is you want to put your ideas on paper. You want to make it tangible, you want to make it visible. Then you go through each character, drawing every single frame, because this is traditional animation. Once you're done with that, you move on to cleanup. Once you're done with that, you do flat colors. Then, depending on how the project is run, you'll do visual effects. So that's usually what happens. After that, then sound design, scoring. Sometimes the scoring happens in tandem. It's also fine. So that's usually how it goes.
Auntie, there's nothing to it. It's just an Instagram video.
Just an Instagram video that you put for the world to see.
I remember us watching a YouTube video of like different shots, like what kind of shots do you want? And that's how we walked through. Like, okay, we think, because I want the camera to represent the anxiety of like them feeling claustrophobic in the car, and like the kind of like the joy being sucked out of it as the conversation goes on, or even just choosing to focus on Osas, but having her friend in the background, like showing her discomfort. Having the guy kind of like lean in to protect her. Those like little choices like that, those are the choices we're making. When it comes to something like this I've never done before, I was very anxious about like not fucking up. So I'm like, I think we should do this. What do you think? Like, agree with me so we can move forward. So
Because even the way she was touching you, I'm watching another video now, and no, what is this?
The way I did this one was, you'll notice the texture of the pencil. When I use a pencil, it's free for me. I can experiment, I can take, maybe I drew smoke and it moved this way, and I'm like, okay, I like that, let's keep that. Or you made a mistake, but at the end you just look at it and, okay, that actually adds something to it. So when you're more comfortable in a particular medium, it's easier to explore, it's easier to make your mistake, and along the way sometimes you see some happy accidents that you keep. So yeah.
I remember when Chuk sent us like the first like drawings of all the people, because like I, even beyond the character profiles, like, oh, how do these people dress? So I had to like tell him, like, I think she would wear this, I think, and this person would wear this. So when we got the first images, I was like, yeah, this is really nice. But the moment for me that really I was so proud to see it was when Joshua sent like those still images of like those different scenes of the Jezebel scene and the car. Like, it was so beautiful. I showed every single person around me. I was like, oh, look at Nico man working on it. So I think that part for me was very, like, it was just so beautiful. And I think everybody who saw it was like, wait, in Nigeria, this was done in Nigeria. So that was like proud papa moments.
Osas!
Okay, so what if she's...
What if what? Osasumwe, what if what? Eh?
I said, what if she's really...
No! I bind every spirit of lesbianism in your life.
I pulled everything from real life. Like, Osas, I pulled it from Yamo, mostly, but not entirely. So I pulled like the fierceness, the fact that, yeah, she's very passionate about protecting people she cares about, but she's also respectful. So those are just like little tidbits I wanted to mix around, and I got most of that from Yamo, and I borrowed from other people that were around me at the time. But the person that I feel like I built mostly from people in my life, like family, was Auntie Yua. So like I got the gist of how the auntie was, but I also pulled from my own aunt, let me not. My aunt who is pretty cool, and even my mom. So I kind of pulled from my mom to where, like, I think this person is really cool, but the only time that we kind of like fight is when it comes to religion. Like, I feel like religion is where they kind of lose their empathy. So one of the core things I wanted, even when I was describing Auntie Yua, was that like she didn't become really religious until she had her last kid, and her last kid was sick. And that kind of like pushed her to God. And for me, one of the things I've noticed from people who find religion later in life is that they're a lot more like gung-ho about it. It's like, this is the way, I don't want you to burn in hell. I've discovered this thing, and you must discover it too. And one of the things she wanted for her favorite niece is that I didn't discover God until later in life. I wanted to discover God early. So when I see you grinding on a bib, that is worrying to me. So those are just kind of the things I was pulling from when I worked on that.
Generally, I love animating dialogue. There's a graduation, per se, of how angry Osas is getting. So at first, you can see she's a little perturbed by what is going on. She's just like, okay, well, like, why is this? Like, why is she so uptight about this? And then it continues going and it continues going. Just that moment before she gets the angriest, I really like that part, because that's when she's like being interrupted, and she's like that. Those hesitations, I love animating those, because those are the kinds of things you don't see in the script. You don't see those in the voice acting, but you can do it in animation, and it can change what the scene is seen as. So I love doing those.
Sorry guys, just sorry guys. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry guys.
Sorry, guys. Hi, Auntie. Good morning.
For me, one of the things I love about film is acting, and I think an actor is really as good as their director. Like, when I say bad performance, I don't blame the actor, I blame the director. Like, you allowed this happen. Oshua was very receptive. She was just asking for feedback. She was like, how should I say this line? Do you think she's angry in this moment? And I think going back to the character profiles, that really helped, because my phone was out when I was like, no, yes, I know she's angry now, but there's also a limit to how rude she's going to be to her favorite aunt. So let's dial that back. And even that also helped with script editing. So like when the script came out, I was like, I don't think this person would say this. So like, let maybe change the word, or let's cut down this line, or let's remove this entirely.
Beautiful acting for both of them. And as an animator, when you get a good voice, when you get someone who expresses themselves through voice, it is so nice. You're like, there are so many possibilities. You get the script and you're listening to it and you're like, wow, I can go 7 different ways with this and it will kill it. I love this. So I really like the voice acting on it.
Even though we didn't end up with what we wanted, I'm still really happy with the song we got at the end. Going through that with Osarumen, picking the songs, that was fun.
So we had a couple spotting sessions actually. I think we had 2 or 3 of them. And we had 2 or 3 different directions. The very first iteration we made like some dark sounding music because I guess some parts of the film have some, I don't want to call them unhappy undertones, but I'll call them unhappy undertones. So we both had to consider that, try to find songs that aligned with the message of the film in some way, which hilariously ended up with us picking a song called Hanky Panky that had nothing to do with the film whatsoever. But we ended up picking Odunsi's Wait in Idowu because again, it felt like the kind of thing that Osas would be into and her friends would listen to.
I'm big on festivals. Like I've never attended any festival, but I can tell you the movies that showed at TIFF, the movies that showed at Cannes, the ones that won awards, because I follow them very religiously. I think it's a really beautiful experience to have like established filmmakers, new filmmakers coming together to watch each other's movies before they come to the general public. I think it's really beautiful. So I would really love the opportunity to go there as a filmmaker. And if I potentially win Best New Director or something, I won't be angry. I think it's really fun. And I think even that is also an opportunity to do more, because I would really love to direct like a feature film, like, or even maybe just direct a live action. Let me direct human beings moving around, not just in a voice booth doing something. I think it would be nice, and I think this would be a good springboard for that.
Oh, I'm really excited to see what people think about it. We've spent quite a bit of time working on this. Oh wow, it's been 2 years. Yeah, so we spent quite a bit of time working on this, and I'm just really excited to see what people think about it. Especially like, again, people who I would imagine would be able to relate to it directly.